I call wheat the perfect obesogen. It makes you want to eat all the time, and that makes visceral fat grow. That's why I call it a wheat belly.
Now, join preventive cardiologist and best-selling author Dr. William Davis as he shares the science and nutrition behind his startling conclusion that losing wheat is your key to dramatic weight loss and optimal health.
Just because something doesn't have that problem ingredient, gluten, doesn't mean it's good for you. Jelly beans are gluten-free. This is not about being gluten-free.
Learn how to transform your health and your life in ways you never imagined. Watch Wheat Belly Total Health next. Dr. Davis is a graduate of the St. Louis University School of Medicine and the Ohio State University Hospitals with training in internal medicine and cardiovascular diseases. He obtained further training in advanced cardiac interventional techniques at the Case Western Reserve University Hospital System and was assistant professor of medicine.
Well, thank you for that warm welcome. You know, I'm especially delighted to bring my message to the public television audience because I think you're going to learn some really new things tonight that might upset you, I hope educate you, at least stimulate you to think about better ways to look at food and nutrition and health. So, let's get to business. You know, I've practiced cardiology for 23 years. And in those 23 years, I've seen a whole range of health problems. Lots of them very complex problems. You know what's wonderful? When a very complex problem has a very simple answer. Let me give you an example. I met a woman a few years back, a 38-year-old school teacher. She came to me because she had palpitations, a flip-flopping feeling in her heart. It wasn't going to harm her. It was proved to be fairly benign. But while she told me her story, this is what she was doing, like this. So I said, what's wrong? And she said, for the past 12 years, I've had ulcerative colitis. And I live with 24-hour-a-day cramps, pain, bloating, diarrhea, bleeding. I have to get transfusions every 2 or 3 months. I take 3 drugs, 2 oral drugs and an intravenous drug. And nothing's working. So my gastroenterologist says I have to have my colon removed and I have to have an ileostomy bag created. So she tells me this. She's 38 years old. She's a school teacher. She teaches 8 or 9-year-old little boys and has some kids at home of her own. So I said to her, you know what? I know you're not here for ulcerative colitis, but can I share with you a prescription that I give to most of my other patients? This is a different sort of prescription. It's not the kind of prescription you take to the pharmacy. It's not a prescription you have to renew every month. There's no out-of-pocket copay. You just fill it. Well, she gives me this odd look, and she says, well, sure, they're going to remove my colon. She goes home. She comes back in 3 months. No scar, no bag in sight. I ask her, well, what happened? Big smile. She says, I filled this prescription. Within 5 days, all cramps, diarrhea, bleeding stopped. I felt so good, I stopped 1 drug. I didn't ask her to stop the drug. She just did that on her own. I continued to feel so good, I stopped another drug. And I continued to feel so good, I stopped the 3rd drug. And look at me. I lost 38 pounds. I wasn't even trying. Another person came to me about the same time, this time a 28-year-old software programmer. Well, he told me he had 3 repairs of complex congenital heart disease as an infant. The repairs were successful, but now they were failing. At age 28, he lived in heart failure. He was breathless all the time, and he was told he needed a heart transplantation. So he tells me this. I say, you know what? I don't think I have much to offer you. That's not really my field. And he says, well, I understand that. but I came to you in the hopes you have some kind of natural or nutritional therapy. Maybe we can prevent transplantation, or maybe if I have to go through it, I'll make it last as long as possible. So I said, well, I guess that's reasonable. Okay, can I take a listen to your heart and lungs? So he tries to make his way over to the exam table like this. He's 28. He's 28. He gets there, he heaves a sigh of relief. I ask him, why such difficulty? He says, all my joints hurt. I can barely walk. They all hurt so badly. I said, well, has anyone made a diagnosis? Heart failure doesn't cause joint pain. So he says, no one knows why. They all tell me to take pain medication, anti-inflammatory medication, and grin and bear it. So I said, have you seen a rheumatologist, a joint specialist? They said, 3. They biopsied my joints, they ran their blood tests. No one can tell me why I have incapacitating joint pain. So I said the same thing to this young man that I said to that school teacher. I said, well, I know you're not here for your joint pain, but can I share with you a prescription that I give to most of my other patients that doesn't require going to the pharmacy, monthly renewal, out-of-pocket costs? Well, he gives his young wife who came with him this odd look like, this guy's kind of nuts, don't you think? But he gives it a try. He comes back 3 weeks later, he jumps on the table. I asked him, well, tell me what happened. And he said, well, within 5 days, all joint pain was completely gone. And he told me, I refuse to believe it. There's just no way. I've suffered through this for years. Biopsies, medication, pain, I can't do anything, and it goes away within 5 days of this one thing I did? So I went off the prescription. All the pain came back within hours. So he said, I learned my lesson. I went back on the prescription. And it took another 5 days to feel good again, but I felt great again. Another twist to this story. Not only did his joint pain go away, his heart failure went away. Now, his congenital repair didn't change, of course, but the water retention, the inflammation, the kinds of things that lead to heart failure disappeared. So what is this prescription? What prescription could cure ulcerative colitis? Allow a woman to lose 38 pounds, not with running long distances and counting calories, not even trying. The same prescription allows a young man to be free of joint pain and gets rid of his heart failure. Is there any such prescription that could do all those things without going to the pharmacy without cost? Well, it took me a number of years to understand this. It took me talking to geneticists, understanding their studies, talking to agricultural geneticists. But this prescription works. It works regardless of sex, age, young, older. It works for everybody. And that prescription is to eliminate all wheat. And I can say, having witnessed this now many, countless thousands or more times, I don't believe it's an exaggeration to say that people's lives are transformed. Let me tell you my story. My story goes back about 23 years when I started practicing cardiology, actually interventional, what's called interventional cardiology. I was that guy who did heart catheterizations and balloon angioplasty and implanted stents and tried to stop heart attacks and carved out arteries and those kinds of things. But I heard a colleague give a lecture on how he thought that if you became a vegetarian and cut all oils and fats out of your diet, you could reverse heart disease. So I said, hey, that's kind of cool. I didn't know much about nutrition. I only knew what I learned in medical school, which is about that much. So I thought, I'm going to give it a try. So I came home, committed to trying this program. So I eliminated all meat, all added oils, only ate whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. and did it very seriously. Over the next year, I gained 30 pounds. My triglycerides went to 350. My HDL cholesterol dropped to 27, which is a high risk level. And I became diabetic. I was jogging 3 to 5 miles a day, but I became diabetic. Now, I didn't understand. Why would I've done everything right, haven't I? I exercise I eat right, and I have diabetes, and I'm a metabolic disaster? Well, I stopped doing that diet, and I became non-diabetic, but it was an important lesson to me. Not only is nutrition and the foods you choose important, they are critical. They are critical for your health.